What is your favorite piece of art? Do you think that question is too broad?
Hold still! This isn't any sort of little bait for the pot. Stop it! This ain't funny! Oh, I disagree! Now, why are you so afraid of a pair of gelding tongs? I thought you were the horse expert! What do you reckon, Morgan?
I reckon you two are made for each other.
Made for each other.
Obviously it is, right? Surely you can't nail down one piece of art that you think surpasses each other piece ever made. Or can you? Is it a book? A painting? A movie or show? Maybe it's a collection of clothing. Or maybe your favorite piece of art is a video game. Well, now I have to ask you whether or not you believe video games are art. So do you? Are video games art? Do they have the influence of films like The Shawshank Redemption, the editing styles of Taxi Driver, the cultural impact of an album like To Pimp a Butterfly? Well, I can't answer any of that for you. Art is such a vast category of things that trying to nail down what it is has always been a futile venture. To me, though, video games are art. They are arguably the highest form and most intimate versions of art. They place you in stories with characters who exist as an extension of you. Whether you're swinging through the crowded streets of New York or riding from village to village looking for monster contracts, video games are meant for immersion. The best video games I can think of are the ones that ask the player to fully exist in the world they create. This can create a deep emotional connection for the player as they leave the bounds of reality and enter a world they've only seen in their dreams.
Listen to me. When the time comes, you gotta run and don't look back. This is over.
My first introduction to this concept was Red Dead Redemption 2. It was 2018, and like every other person on the planet, I was ready to sit down and spend the rest of my life on this game. As I ventured further and further into the world Rockstar created, I found myself falling in love. It became a second home to me, the embodiment of my creativity and freedom. I recently played the game again and it finally clicked why I love it so much. This game reminds me of home. It's a nostalgic burst of joy that reminds me of the world I used to live in. The difficulty of waking up at 6 a.m. to get on the bus and go to school, the awkwardness I felt as I walked through the halls and locked eyes with my crush, the laughter and arguments shared at lunch tables. This game reminds me of a simpler time, a point in my life where I bore less scars, and the pain that I feel when I realize it's over.
It fades. Trust me, it fades.
What fades?
Your youthful bloom. It fades. And it's a horror what's left.
Don't be like that, Miss Grimshaw.
I know how you girls laugh at me. I used to laugh at women just like me when I was young and pretty and sure of the world.
We don't laugh at you, miss.
You do. And you're right, too. I'm laughable. Pitiable. But it'll happen to you, too. They'll stop looking soon enough, and that glass in your hand won't be so friendly neither.
It's all here. Riding from Valentine to Rhodes feels like walking from 4th period French to 5th period physics. It's all here. Speaking to Dutch and Hosea feels like speaking to my older brother and his friends while we waited for our next classes to start. Everything that made high school life so compelling to me at that time comes through in this game. Playing this game, I remember all the smaller moments that made up my day-to-day life. The countless hours I spent in my room playing this game with YouTube or Netflix buzzing in the background. The dreadful hours I spent working at my local pizza shop glancing at the clock hoping for the time when I'd go back to Valentine, back to the Vanderlyn gang, back to Arthur Morgan.
So, what happened?
You mean back then? Arthur helped me get out. Gave me a chance to live, I guess. You know that Arthur...
Sure. Word got to me up north, so I went back and buried him in Miss Grimshaw.
I had to run. If any of us had been found, we'd have...
Oh, of course. I understand. He's where he would have wanted to be. A pretty hillside, facing the evening sun.
He gave me his satchel with some of his things in it. Remember that journal he always drew in? I got it. I'm a bit of a draftsman myself nowadays.
Well, he wasn't a good man. None of us were. But, maybe he was true to himself.
Him and his code. That pig-headed bastard. You get sick like that, I guess you gotta cling to something.
He was hoping to come out of it. Hope was about all he had left. Maybe all any of us have.
This one small segment made everything click. I finally understood why I loved this game so much. This one conversation makes me think back to all the hours I spent playing as Arthur, exploring the world, getting into fights, changing clothes, and interacting with unique people. I feel like I actually lost a good friend. Really, not even just a good friend, my best friend. Someone who I grew to love. Someone who I watched bore their heart out multiple times. I was with Arthur in his most vulnerable moments and his most proudest moments. When he laughed, I laughed. When he cried, I cried. He was like a companion through which I saw the beauty of this game's world, and without him, things just didn't feel the same. And I think that's the major reason why this game continues to stick with me. My relationship with Arthur Morgan is a very real one. It doesn't end when I turn my console off. It follows me through my real life activities. I find myself responding to situations in my head the way I think Arthur would. I repeat his sayings to myself all the time, almost as if I'm talking to him. Yes, Arthur Morgan is a fictional character, but he feels like a real friend to me. Someone who I get to visit every time I replay this game. Every time I boot this game up for a new playthrough, I can count on the fact that I'm going to get to spend over 60 to 70 plus hours with one of my closest friends. That's a beautiful and frankly powerful sentiment for a game to portray. Think about all the lonely people who found comfort in this. The 16-year-old Jaden who struggled to make friends in school, counting on the fact that he would be able to find comfort in the world of Red Dead 2. It's beautiful and something that only video games can accomplish, in my opinion. When I first played this game, I wasn't aware that I could fall in love with art this much. Finding solace and hope in a story that on the outside seems so depressing is what makes storytelling and art so impactful. There's so many small moments in this game that emphasize my point, but this video isn't about Red Dead 2. However, I will say this, no game I've played since this game's release will ever match the feeling that Red Dead 2 gave me. There is truly something special about what this game does, what it means, how it does it, and everything in between. I love Red Dead 2 more than anything on this planet. It's a magnum opus of storytelling and world building, and I'll never play a game that makes me feel this way again. Or at least, I thought so up until very recently. I just finished The Last of Us Part 1 for the third time in my life.
What if it's true?
Do I need to remind you what is out there?
Once upon a time, I had somebody that I cared about. And in this world, that sort of shit's good for one thing. Getting you killed.
I find myself thinking more and more about what this game does, why I think this game is so different from others, what it does differently than its sequel. What stands out to me more than anything else this game does is the theme of adolescence and the fears of being alone. One of the earliest memories I have is of me being dropped off at school for the first time, my parents walking me into my kindergarten class as I held tightly to their hands, not wanting to let go. I still remember that swelling fear in my brain. the butterflies that rammed against my stomach, filling me with every sort of anxiety a 4-year-old could feel. I think my mom told me to behave, have fun, or make friends, one of the three, or maybe it was all of them. I couldn't think about that though. She was saying it while walking away. Her body was halfway out the door, leaving me with a bunch of strangers I had no allegiance to. Like any child, I ran after her. I didn't want to stay there, I wanted to be with my mom. But nonetheless, when I reached the door and called out for her, she was already halfway down the hall. I remember her glancing back and telling me it would be okay, trying her best to reassure a shy, insecure 4-year-old. Mommy has to go now, okay? Just try it. You'll be fine. And there it began, a feeling that would come to rule my life from then on. I managed to get through kindergarten as easily as most other children in America, but something stuck with me during those moments. The fear of abandonment had lashed itself onto me like a parasite, enveloping its own portion of my brain, growing larger and larger as time's arrow marched forward. I'm sure I'm not the only one with a story like this. Plenty of you can probably relate to that feeling in one way or another. What makes it so interesting to me is the variety of end results the situation can have, the way the fear of abandonment can warp people's perspectives on life. Some people become extremely extroverted in an attempt to surround themselves with as many people as possible, forcing abandonment to disappear. Others become isolated, convincing themselves that the only person they can rely on is them, that relationships are inevitably meant to end in pain, that regardless of what they say or do, their mom will already be halfway down the hall telling them they'll be fine. The Last of Us Part 1 presents these two realities.
It's okay, baby. We're safe. We're safe. Hey, we need help.
Stop!
Please. It's my daughter. I think her leg is broken.
Stop right there!
Okay. We're not sick.
Got a couple of civilians on the outer perimeter. Please advise.
Daddy, what about Uncle Tommy?
We're gonna get you to safety and go back for him, okay?
Sir, there's a little girl. But... Yes, sir.
Somebody, we've just been through hell. Okay, we just need... Shit. Please don't. Oh, no. Sarah. Move your hands, baby. I know, baby, I know. God. Listen to me. I know this hurts, baby. You're gonna be okay, baby. Stay with me. All right, I'm gonna pick you up. I know, baby. I know it hurts. Come on, baby, please. I know, baby. I know. Sarah. Baby. Don't do this to me, baby. Don't do this to me, baby. Come on. Come on. No. No. No, no, please. Please, please, please don't. Please.
Joel is a broken man.
You mumble in your sleep. I hate bad dreams.
Yeah, me too.
Who watched his one and only treasure in life get taken from him, leaving him in a world of pain, literally and figuratively. He suffered one of the most horrific tragedies one can ever experience, and because of that, he's locked himself away. He's been abandoned by humanity, the humanity that killed his daughter, the humanity that split him and his brother apart, the humanity that created the circumstances he now has to live in. The world dealt him a shitty hand, and rather than play, he's decided to idly wander the casino, contemplating whether or not he should leave. Enter Ellie.
I want Joel to watch over her.
Whoa, I don't think that's
Bullshit,
the
I'm not
best
talking
Ellie.
to him. How do you know them?
I was close with his brother, Tommy. Said if I was ever in a jam, I could rely on him.
Was that before or after he left your little militia group?
He left you, too.
If Joel is the introvert, seemingly content with isolation, then Ellie is the extrovert, the person so scared of abandonment that they will search it out in anyone they find. She's a child with no real life experience. She's amazed by the outside world, shocked and curious to discover all the things people used to do before the outbreak. She's the polar opposite to Joel. By placing a child and a broken man together, this game says so much about the human condition. Both of these people suffer from immense fears of abandonment. I haven't really contemplated my fear of abandonment. It's always been a phantom guide, making decisions on the way I interacted with people, the way I interact with the world. I've leaned far closer to someone like Joel than I would like to. I've spent hours of my life building emotional and mental walls to block the pain that other people can inflict. The problem with that, though, is that you also block the love they can give. People are caring creatures. By the end of the game, Joel is a far more emotional being. He's there for Ellie in her lowest moments.
Ellie! Stop! Stop!
Fucking touch me!
It's me! It's me! It's me! Look! It's me.
He tried to...
Oh, baby girl. It's okay. It's okay.
No.
It's okay.
The overarching theme of finding something to fight for is shown through his character. He goes from meandering through life, fighting for ration cards and scrounging for a semi-sustainable existence to being a father. He no longer fights for himself, he fights for Ellie and the life that she may go on to lead. I keep thinking about this game because this game is about broken people, and we are all broken people. We are all searching for something to fight for, and many of us believe we failed to find it. This game presents a theory that all we need is others, that the people around us are the ones we should fight for, that love is and always has been enough.
None of that is on you.
You don't understand.
I struggled for a long time with surviving. And you... no matter what, you keep finding something to fight for. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear right now.
Swear
Val,
to
but
me. Swear to me that everything that you said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
Okay.
But let's backtrack for a second. Why do I love Ellie so much? Well, because Ellie represents my life prior to adulthood. Ellie is me. I started this video off with my earliest memory. I believe that captures exactly why Ellie as a character means so much to me. She embodies that feeling. My fear of abandonment is very childlike. It's irrational, explosive, and pouty. When I even sense abandonment, I immediately become that 4-year-old crying for his mom. It's easily the most childish thing about me, and one of the only ways I ever genuinely lose grip of the person I believe myself to be.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
You're right. You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad. And we are going our separate ways.
Ellie is me. The fear that I'll be left alone in a world this decrepit is one that envelops my thoughts constantly. The need for constant reminders that I'm loved and wanted is something that I present to everyone I enter a relationship with. Just look at Recorded in My Bedroom episode 1. It's literally just me pleading with my friends to text me back, scrambling for any bit of attention I can obtain because my biggest fear is being alone and lost, being stuck with myself and my thoughts while not having anyone to guide me or show me the way. I think the most fascinating thing this game does is showcase the horrors and beauty of this world through Ellie's eyes. Though you play as Joel for the vast majority of the game, Ellie is a surrogate for the player. She asks questions that the player has. She lightens the mood with puns and dad jokes when things get quiet.
What is the leading cause of divorce in long-term marriages? A stalemate.
That's awful.
She offers a beacon of hope, not only through her story implications, but through her actions. She is easily the best thing about this game, and I can't praise Ashley Johnson enough for the brilliance in her performance.
Ellie! Ellie!
Ellie is my favorite fictional character of all time. After emerging from that hole that 2020 had me in, I felt like a kid again, on the precipice of adulthood being thrusted further as time went on. To this day, that terrifies me, but that's neither here nor there. I spent the majority of 2021 acting like Ellie does in this game, exploring my newfound place in the world, and discovering all the horrors and beauty that this world can hold. It's a sense of wonder that I've failed to capture since. As the time between 2021 and now grows farther and farther, I find myself scratching and seething for any semblance of that feeling again. In fact, I relate far more to Ellie in the second game than I do here. Replaying this game and witnessing Ellie's character arc make me far more emotional than I would like to admit. There's a segment during the final act of the game where Ellie comments on her experiences so far.
So, is this everything you were hoping for?
It's got its ups and downs, but you can't deny the view, though.
When I heard that during this third playthrough, I broke down. It's my favorite moment in this entire franchise, and arguably my favorite moment in gaming history. I hate to use the word, but it's so real. Genuinely, I can't describe life in any other way than that. It has its ups and downs, but you can't deny the beauty. The moments when the sun shines bright and music plays at just the right volume, it's difficult to avoid bliss. Life sucks, and the world is literally burning, but what would I gain from focusing on the pain? Shouldn't I take the gamble that love exists and open my arms to anyone that will take them? That's the most important thing this game does, in my opinion. It reaffirms the human need for community. It's titled The Last of Us. It's a story about people and why people need to be together. Nobody can get through this hellish place we call a home alone. If you try, you'll just end up dead or empty. Either way, your existence would be futile. The fear of abandonment has ruled my life for as long as I can remember, and I'm positive that it's done the same to some of the people watching this video. This game taught me that it doesn't have to be that way though. There is hope in others. When you're not strong enough to carry the burdens of life, it's okay to look for help. And contrary to what you might believe, most people are willing and able to shoulder some of your pain, but you have to allow them the proximity to do so. So why do I keep thinking about The Last of Us Part 1? Well, because it gives me hope. It fills me with a sense of joy and wonder that can only come from experiencing art this profound. In this current, present moment, I needed to relive this game, to recognize there is still something to fight for, that regardless of where I'm at, who I become, or what I've done, I can still be better. This game says so much about adolescence. It provides an insight on abandonment and loss that no other game I have ever played captures. It emphasizes the responsibility we have to one another and the importance of community and the need for connection. We all need one another. For a game that on the surface looks so depressing, a game that starts with the death of a 12-year-old girl, it presents one of the most hopeful and beautiful stories I've ever consumed. It lives in my mind, entrenches my thoughts, and changed the way I view life. And I'm hoping that it has or can do the same for anyone watching this video. The Last of Us Part 1 is a magnum opus, a beautiful piece of art that will stand the test of time, and I cannot thank Naughty Dog enough for presenting it to me. I can't thank Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, Neil Druckmann, and the rest of the Naughty Dog team enough for bringing two of my favorite fictional characters ever to life. So, I wrote this video about 2 or 3 weeks before the HBO show released. I didn't really expect anything from the show, and what I wrote in the script acknowledging the show, I'm just gonna read anyway because I think it captures, or maybe not necessarily captures, but finishes off this video essay in a better way than if I were to just rewrite it. So, understand, this part of the video was written 2 weeks before the HBO show released. So anything about the show, I also haven't watched the show yet. So anything that I say in this part, understand, it was written prior to knowledge of the show. I hear the show is pretty good, but I don't really have any desire to watch it. Not because I think it's going to be bad or not because I think it's going to mess up the show. I just don't care. But yeah, so if you want to stop watching here, feel free. But these are some of my thoughts on the show before the show came out, or some of my like initial thoughts on the show. Essentially where I was at before the show released, and my thoughts on the show currently still, because I still don't really have much of a desire to watch it. But yeah, without further ado, I'm just gonna go ahead and go to the next segment. I know there's an HBO show on the way, and that's partially the reason why I decided to return to these games, but I don't really have any expectations for it. At best, it's going to give someone who hasn't played these games the same feeling I have now, along with the desire to return to the source, and at worst, it'll be a forgettable blotch on the timeline getting swept into the ocean of oblivion. I guess I have faith in Pedro Pascal to capture the essence of Joel, but why should I care when I can see Troy Baker's performance at any time? I thought Bella Ramsey was one of the best parts of the final seasons of Game of Thrones, and I'm sure she'll be great as Ellie, but again, why should I care when Ashley Johnson's portrayal is literally a click away? I guess what I'm trying to say is that this show may be good, but I won't care if it's bad, and you shouldn't either. But I know that won't stop all the neckbeards on Twitter from slandering Bella and Pedro's performance for some inane reason, so I won't even bother.
Isn't this the perfect casting choice to capture the essence and the character of our once beloved Ellie? I mean, look at her. It surely can't be because Bella Ramsey identifies as they.
I guess just make up your own mind on it. Personally, I still haven't decided if I'm going to watch it. Like I said already, I don't really care because I'd rather experience the story how it was meant to be experienced, but I'm excited for all the new people that are going to be introduced to this franchise. With all that being said, thanks for watching, take it easy, and remember that the world isn't as bad as it seems.
I'll walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and I fear no evil because I'm blind to it all. In my mind, my gun, they comfort me, because I know I'll kill my enemies when they come. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days.
What are you doing, kiddo? You really gonna go through with this?